I, 33F, met Rick, 39M, in June 2020 at Silver Creek Horse Show. I was there with my friend Lisa, whose 12-year-old daughter competed in junior showmanship. Rick was one of the trainers helping run the show. He caught my attention during the lunch break when he patiently helped a scared young rider who was having trouble with her horse. The way he handled both the nervous girl and the horse showed his skill and compassion. Lisa noticed me watching him and mentioned he was single. She knew him from the local horse circuit and offered to introduce us. We clicked immediately. Rick was charming, passionate about horses, and seemed very genuine. By the end of the show, we'd exchanged numbers. Our early dating phase was amazing. Rick had been training horses for 15 years and dreamed of having his own facility. He was renting spaces at different barns, traveling between them to train clients' horses. Sometimes he had to turn down clients because he didn't have a consistent facility. It was clear he had talent, horses responded incredibly well to him, and his clients praised his methods. I work as a financial advisor and have always been careful with money. When Rick mentioned struggling with the business side of things, I offered to help. I started handling his emails, scheduling, invoicing, and marketing. Within a year, his client list doubled. We made a great team. He focused on training while I managed the business aspects. My family loved Rick. My parents, who are pretty protective, said he was the best person I dated. My sister and her husband often joined us for trail rides since they have horses too. Rick fit perfectly into my life and family. For 4 years, everything seemed perfect. Rick's business kept growing. We talked about marriage and building a life together. His dream was still having his own facility, but property prices were insane. Then 6 months ago, this amazing 20-acre farm came on the market. It had a beautiful house, 2 barns, an indoor arena needing minor repairs, and plenty of paddocks. The price was high but reasonable for our area. Rick was ecstatic when we viewed it. He spent hours talking about how he'd organize training programs, host clinics, and expand his business. Since I had savings and good credit, I agreed to buy it. The property would be in my name, but we planned to marry eventually anyway. Everyone was thrilled, our families, friends, Rick's clients, the local horse community. People kept saying what a power couple we were. Yesterday shattered everything. I was using my laptop where Rick's Gmail stays logged in since I manage his business correspondence. I noticed Google had synced with his phone, showing recent searches for fab swingers from his phone. Curious, I checked his search history. He'd searched this site almost daily for months. My stomach dropped. I created an account to investigate and found his profile immediately. He'd used a photo from last summer's beach trip, one I took of him. The profile was created 7 months ago, right around when we found the farm. His bio described himself as having a high sex drive, looking for women interested in no-strings excitement. I spent hours reading his profile, feeling sick. He wrote about loving build-up and anticipation before meetings. The profile listed his correct age, location, and body type. He even mentioned being involved with horses, though not his profession. I waited 24 hours before confronting him, trying to process everything. When I showed him screenshots, his first response was claiming he created the account for his friend Tom. He said he used Tom's name in the username, so it was actually Tom's account despite having Rick's photos and details. When I pointed out this made no sense, his story changed. Suddenly he claimed he and Tom shared the account because they suspected Tom's wife might be on the site. He said they browsed it out of curiosity, like Instagram, just looking at photos. He insisted he never met anyone from there. I asked about the bio explicitly stating he wanted to meet women. He said they needed the profile to look legitimate to catch Tom's wife. But he had 5 friends on the account, 4 were women from our area. When I asked to see his messages, he refused, saying it would violate Tom's privacy since they shared the account. This brought back memories from 2 years ago when I caught him messaging a girl on Instagram. The messages were flirty and inappropriate. He apologized profusely then, promising it meant nothing and would never happen again. Now he claims this website is different because it's anonymous. I'm heartbroken and panicking. The property closing is in 2 days. I've signed contracts and paid a large deposit. My loan is approved based on my income. Rick has already told his clients about moving his business there. Everyone knows we're buying this farm together. The renovation plans are drawn up. Rick's mom offered to help decorate the house. My sister planned a housewarming party. His clients are scheduling lessons at the new place. Local horse people keep congratulating us. The pressure feels overwhelming. I've supported Rick emotionally and financially while he built his business. Now I'm about to spend my savings and take on massive debt to buy property for someone I'm not sure I can trust. Everyone will know if I back out. The humiliation would be intense. But how can I go through with this? Even if the profile was just for looking, which I doubt, he's been lying for months. Every time he searched that site or logged in, he betrayed my trust. Now he's telling obvious lies about Tom to cover himself. Should I move forward with the purchase and try to work through this? Walk away and deal with the embarrassment? I need advice from people who aren't emotionally invested in our relationship or the property purchase. Update when I wanted to update everyone who offered advice. After reading hundreds of comments and crying for days, I made my decision. I went through with buying the property but told Rick we needed space while I processed everything. He acted understanding and said he'd stay with Tom temporarily. The first week was intense. Rick sent constant messages saying he loved me and nothing physical ever happened on the website. He claimed he only looked at profiles when bored or drinking. Every message included promises about counseling, transparency, and rebuilding trust. I mostly responded with one-word answers. Then something unexpected happened. Tom's wife Sarah messaged me on Facebook. She saw Rick's truck at a local motel, not at their house, and wanted to check on me. When I explained what was happening, including Rick's claim about making the profile to catch her on the website, she was furious. Sarah shared some disturbing information. Tom and Rick had barely spoken since December when they fought over Rick stealing one of Tom's clients. Sarah sent screenshots of their last interaction, Tom warning Rick to stop contacting his clients. They definitely weren't sharing any dating profiles. Even worse, Sarah revealed that Rick had hit on her last year. She sent screenshots of messages where he suggested they should go riding together privately, followed by increasingly flirty texts. Sarah shut it down immediately but never told me because she thought it was a one-time drunk mistake and didn't want to cause problems. I confronted Rick with Sarah's evidence. His story completely changed. Suddenly he admitted the Fab Swingers account was only his. He confessed to messaging multiple women but swore he never met anyone in person. When I asked why he made up the story about Tom, he said he panicked and thought having an accomplice would make it seem less suspicious. The property closing happened last week. I moved in alone and started working on the indoor arena repairs. The place is beautiful but feels empty. Rick keeps asking when he can move his business here. He even offered to sign a formal contract about property use and business terms. He said I could have all his passwords and check his phone anytime. His clients are confused. Rick had already promoted this as his upcoming training facility. Several people have emailed about scheduling lessons and boarding horses once we're open. I haven't responded since I don't know what's happening with his business here. My sister thinks I'm being too harsh. She pointed out that Rick didn't actually meet anyone from the website, and I've already bought the property. She said many couples work through worse things and suggested giving him 3 months to prove himself. But something feels different now. The website was bad enough, but lying about Tom and Sarah showed a pattern of deception. He only admitted anything after being caught. My parents support whatever I decide but worry about me running a horse property alone. Mom keeps sending links to property management courses. Dad offered to help interview other trainers if I decide not to work with Rick. The support helps but also reminds me how much everyone was invested in this plan. I've started exploring options. 2 established trainers expressed interest in renting facility space if things don't work out with Rick. The property has potential as a boarding facility even without Rick's training business. I'm meeting a lawyer next week to discuss protecting myself legally no matter what I decide. Rick's latest messages are less apologetic and more defensive. He says I'm overreacting about a stupid website that everyone looks at sometimes. He claims plenty of married people have dating profiles just to look. When I mentioned Sarah's screenshots, he said I was creating drama by involving other people in our private issues. I haven't told him about meeting the lawyer yet. Part of me still loves him and remembers all our plans for this place. But a bigger part keeps wondering what else he's lied about. If Sarah hadn't reached out, he'd still be blaming everything on Tom. The renovation work helps distract me. Every time I consider forgiving Rick, I remember how he used our property purchase as his cover story while browsing dating sites. He was planning his future business here while actively seeking other women. How can I trust him with anything now? Update 2: Life has turned more complicated since my last update. The meeting with my lawyer was productive. We drafted an agreement about property use and business terms. While working on this, something bigger came to light. Rick wasn't staying at a motel like Sarah thought. He'd moved in with Amy, one of his longtime students' moms. She divorced last year and has a small hobby farm. Amy was also one of his friends on the Swingers website, which now made horrible sense. The revelation came from Maria, a former client who quit training with Rick last spring. After hearing about our split through the horse community grapevine, she reached out. Over coffee, Maria told me her experience. During her daughter's lessons, Rick suggested they could work out a special payment arrangement. He hinted that private time with him could reduce her training fees. When she refused and quit, Rick told everyone she left because she couldn't afford training. Maria's story bothered me enough to contact other former clients. 2 more women came forward with similar stories. Both had been propositioned by Rick, one during a clinic and another after her daughter's lesson. One showed me messages where Rick offered to exchange training for hookups. Some women apparently agreed while others left like Maria. The most shocking part was discovering Amy's involvement. She hadn't just recently connected with Rick, they'd been seeing each other for 8 months. Amy knew all about the property purchase. Text messages from her phone, which Maria's daughter saw and photographed, showed she and Rick had discussed it. They planned to wait until I bought the property and Rick's business was established here before going public with their relationship. Their logic was cold. They assumed once I'd invested in the property and Rick's business was running, I wouldn't risk the embarrassment of backing out. Amy even suggested Rick should propose to me to secure things further, but he thought that was going too far. When I confronted Rick with everything, he finally broke down. He admitted to seeing Amy regularly since last summer. The swinger's profile was mostly a cover for meeting local horse moms without raising suspicion. He said he loved the life and support I provided but felt constrained in a monogamous relationship. He actually tried defending his actions by saying mixing business with pleasure kept his clients happy. I've blocked both Rick and Amy on everything. The property plans have completely changed. Instead of a training facility for Rick, I'm converting it into a boarding stable. 3 well-respected trainers have already signed contracts to use the arena and bring their students here. Ironically, running the facility without Rick might be more profitable since his reputation in the local horse community is destroyed. Several of his former clients have reached out about boarding their horses here specifically because Rick won't be involved. Maria's daughter is now training with one of the new trainers and doing better than ever. Even Tom offered to help promote the facility since he knows many show riders. Rick's mother stopped by yesterday to collect some of his equipment he'd stored here. She was crying, saying she couldn't believe her son would do this. She asked if I'd consider letting him rent arena time once things calmed down. I had to be firm in saying no, this facility will never be associated with him. I'm still processing everything but feeling more confident about my decision each day. The property is becoming something better than originally planned. Rick's betrayal hurt deeply, but at least I discovered the truth before getting more entangled with him. Update 3: Life has taken unexpected turns since my last update. The boarding facility is thriving beyond expectations. We're at full capacity with 24 horses and a waiting list of 15. The 3 trainers teaching here brought their established client bases, and the combined income is significantly higher than what Rick and I had projected. Rick and Amy's attempt to start fresh in the next county failed spectacularly. They rented a small barn, but the horse world has a long memory and strong networking. Most of Rick's former clients cut ties completely after learning about his pattern of behavior with clients' mothers. 2 show barns that initially considered hiring him backed out after hearing the full story. Last week, Rick messaged me for the first time in months. He wrote a long message about regret, saying he misses our life and realizes what he lost. He mentioned seeing photos of the facility on social media and how beautiful everything looks. He asked if we could meet to talk about possible reconciliation. I deleted the message without responding. Amy apparently dumped him 3 weeks ago. Sarah heard through mutual friends that Amy found dating apps on Rick's phone. She confronted him and discovered he'd been meeting women from the apps throughout their relationship. Amy had convinced herself their affair was special and different, that Rick cheated on me because I didn't understand him like she did. Finding out she was just another conquest hit her hard. Rick's now working as an assistant trainer at a small lesson barn, making barely enough to cover his bills. Several people told me he's been drinking heavily and complaining about how unfair life is. He tried reaching out to some of his old clients but most blocked him. Some unexpected positive changes happened too. Sarah and I became close friends after everything. She started taking lessons from one of our trainers and now helps manage the facility part-time on weekends. Her organizational skills have been invaluable as the business grows. Tom occasionally helps with maintenance projects and has referred several new boarders to us. Last month, Rick's mother Linda called to apologize again. When everything first happened, she'd pressured me to forgive Rick and work things out. Now she said watching him destroy his reputation and career was painful, but he deserved the consequences of his actions. She still visits occasionally to help with barn work. She misses the horses and says the atmosphere here is peaceful. I've received 3 offers to buy the property in the past 2 months. The facility's success has attracted investors' attention. But I'm keeping it. What started as a purchase for Rick's dream has become my own thriving business. The betrayal that felt devastating 6 months ago led to something better than I planned. I won't be updating again since there's nothing left to say. Rick made his choices and is living with the results. I'm focusing on expanding the facility and maybe adding a second arena next year. Thanks to everyone who supported me through this, especially those who urged me not to give Rick another chance. You helped me see that his behavior wasn't my responsibility to fix. For anyone facing similar situations, trust your gut. The embarrassment of walking away is temporary, but the pain of staying with someone who repeatedly betrays you lasts much longer.